Thank you, everyone. Okay, we'll go into our reading. The first is from Reverend Moon. Isn't there the term portion of responsibility in the principle? Why is there such a thing as the portion of responsibility? Man must grow big. He must grow and rise. 15, 16, 17, 18. He must develop until adolescence in the growth stage. If he is to rise to the center, from this point, he must grow. As he attempts to develop, he must wait until that point. In the Unification Church, this is called the sphere of dominion over accomplishments through the principle. It means that there is a realm of direct dominion and a realm of dominion over accomplishments through the principle. Our next reading is from Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Treat a person as he is, and he will remain as he is. Treat a person as he can and should be, and they will become as they can and should be. Okay, now if everyone can please rise for Chaparran's declaration. Okay. Chaparran's declaration. These are my Chaparrans, eternal living and queen of peace, and the liberator of God's heart. They have saved me from my past, they have blessed my future, and they give me true love, forgiveness, and happiness today, and I choose to receive them. My mind is awake, my heart is open wide, and from this moment I change forever. In my name, amen. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Okay, and now if everyone can help me to welcome up our speaker today, Mr. Alan McKenna. Okay.
How's everybody? Trying to make up if it's summertime or wintertime, isn't it? This thing's crazy. What's that?
It's Irish.
I know. 2 weeks ago, it was like great sun, break out the deck chairs. Next week, pull them in, they're going to blow away with the storm. Where's my fur coat? Crazy. Must be climate change. Anyway, follow your original internal compass. That's the title of the Sunday service. Follow your original internal compass. Of course, your original internal compass is your original mind. And it's really interesting. Like we live in a very interesting time, and people are really the whole idea of fate is thrown up into the air. Traditional faith is put in the back burner at this stage, isn't it? It's almost like even just 10 or 15 years ago, I think if you had traditional faith, it was like normal. Now it's almost quaint. Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Do people still believe in that stuff? You know what I mean? Oh, and then if you're older, it's allowed. Right? But that's an old person thing. So the world has really radically changed. But the funny thing is, actually, everybody has a religion mind. And it really doesn't matter. And actually, religion and faith is still going strong today as it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or 100 years ago. They just manifest in different ways. You know what I mean? Instead of following Messiah, you follow someone on Instagram, or you subscribe to a YouTube channel and you get all the gurus. Actually, YouTube's full of gurus giving advice. You know what I mean? There's a huge amount. You get paid a lot of money to run around these speeches. So, it really doesn't matter. Here's an interesting thing. Like you've got the providence, and you've got religion, and you've got society and everything else. But it's irrelevant. Every single human being, when you're born, right? Gravity exists. Yeah? It exists today. Existed 10, 15 years ago. Existed 100 years ago. It existed thousands of years ago when people couldn't even articulate gravity. Okay? The original mind is alive today as much as it is any time in history. From the very beginning. Every single human being, without exception. We all have an original mind. And we have this, it's kind of like, I use the analogy of your original internal compass. And everyone has a conscience and a voice that compels us, and speak to us. And then when you don't do what you're aligned to do, you're not following your original compass, you have a conscience. And you feel guilty, you feel ashamed, you feel embarrassed. So that is fundamentally, that's alive today as much as it ever has been. And none of that has changed, right? You can't kill off gravity. You cannot kill off God, even though you can get 5 out of 5 for efforts. And you definitely cannot kill off your original mind. And every human being, actually, every human being has a faith or a belief system, right? You know, they may not, okay, traditional religion is shown, but you take away, they have some philosophy or some belief or some viewpoint in life. Because actually the brain in the original mind is configured to believe in something. Now, if you completely do not believe in anything, that in and of itself is a faith, because then they believe in chaos. But that's still a faith. They ideologically are opposed against a belief system, a defined belief system, because they believe that the universe is chaos. Well, congratulations. That is your belief. So everyone has that. So, every single human being, the gravity, conscious, interestingly enough, one thing about the original internal compass, okay, is it's actually for every single one of us, it predominantly dwells in the subconscious, right? It's kind of like the original mind. You know, we all have a rational self. We all have a conscious self. We all have a perception of who we are and what we believe in and what our faith is and everything else, okay? And everyone has a rational mind, and that sort of thing. And, you know, but the fact of the matter is, the rational mind is one thing. It actually dwells deep down in our subconscious. It's much deeper. There's a brilliant quote from Fodder. It really blew me away one time. And he asked a question about emotions. You know, you've got intellect, emotion, and will, right? And he turned around and he says, why do we have a hard time? We have a hard time sometimes understanding how we feel or what we feel or something like that. Isn't that true? Emotions seem to be deeper. Emotions, officially, they're deeper. They go deeper than the rational mind, right? So you've got your rational intellect, and you've got your emotions, and the stem of love, inspiration comes from deep inside. And then Father turned around, he said, he says, why is emotions deeper, buried in the subconscious, and why can't the rational mind completely easily figure them out straight away all the time? And then Father turned around with a brilliant quote, and he said, actually, if the rational mind has full comprehension of the deep subconscious and everything inside it, then the rational mind would have dominionship over everything. Right? Because we know the purpose of the universe is love. Right? So if your rational mind has complete understanding and comprehension of everything within you, then the rational mind itself, right, reasoning, the power of reasoning has full dominionship, and therefore the purpose of the universe and the center, the greatest power of the universe, is the power of reasoning and intellect. And I thought that was really, really fascinating. That's something you could dwell. You could meditate on that for a month. But it's just a brilliant, because it has a lot of issues. So that's why, actually, like, lots of us have faith, and we believe in this, that, and the other, and, you know, you can write down what you want to do in your life. The reality is, most of us, we don't end up doing what we want to do. Our reality of our life is different than what we kind of perceive in our heads. You know, if I said to you, who here would like to be an incredibly loving, caring person? I mean, most people probably, I got signed up for that. Yeah, right? Because that's our rational mind. But if we're really honest with ourselves, and especially when we get older, we have all these ideals, and the younger you are, the more idealistic you have, and you look at these old people and you think, oh man, I'm going to do better than that. But many times it's true. It's true. Many times we don't end up becoming amazing. When you're young and everybody wants to be amazing and invent something and be famous and be everything else. Well, guess what? Most people don't end. It's not that our lives don't have profound meaning and understanding. Of course, when you're young, it's a naive idea, like you've got to invent something and have value. So, but we have this amazing idealism, but a lot of it is coming from our subconscious, okay? And the biggest challenge we all have is trying to understand ourselves from a deep subconscious way and understanding God within us and following our internal compass. And it dwells from the subconscious, so it's not always obvious. Sometimes you're praying. You ever get into something about what you want to do in your life and your decision, and you really have to pray and pray and pray and try to understand it. And then suddenly you get this inspiration, right? and then the path is clear. That's a classic example of uncovering your internal compass in your subconscious, and this is the big challenge of trying to find it. So it's not easy. It's not hard or impossible. Well, it can be hard on occasions, but it's not easy to live. I believe it is not easy to live a meaningful and fulfilling life, and to be actually successful in following your internal compass. I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's impossible or really. It can be hard on occasions, but it's not that easy because you really need to make a conscious effort. You need to set your intent. You need to be reflective. You need to ask hard questions. You need to take a look at your life and question yourself. Who am I? What am I doing? What is the purpose? What is my directions? These are all essentially that you need to struggle to find. And of course, I believe that every single human being, we're all created absolutely uniquely, right? See, religion, one of the failures of traditional religion that gets into dogma, right? You should do this, you should say that, and you should be like that. And that's kind of very simplistic, right? The fact that, and I believe in this and you don't believe in that. A lot of the denominations are breaking up are arguments over dogma and a certain interpretation of something. Well, this is the way you should go, and I've done this and this worked for me, so therefore it worked for you. Of course, it's a little more complicated than that because every single human being, we are all completely unique, right? We're all created, therefore, while we're all based on universal principles, everybody has a unique compass, and everyone has a unique purpose, and everyone has a unique direction. And not only is that, we are totally unique with a unique calling in life, but we also everybody is unique in the sense of different stages of our life, right? Like, what if you're a young kid, right? What is the development stages of a 5-year-old kid, and what they should be doing, and making friends and socializing and learning how to read and write and going through that developmental process, right? Versus somebody that's 21 years of age, versus a man and a woman. And then, when you're married and with your kids and everything else, and then when you're in a more retirement phase and you become grandparents. So, it's not a simple kind of scenario. So every single one of us here in this room, we all have our own internal course. And what my specific course is right here and right now, and what I should be working on right now, here and right now, and doing can be maybe similar, but it's also different. And one of the big challenges we need to ask ourselves is, what is my internal compass, and where should I be going, and what should I be doing in my life, right? So what are the characteristics of the internal compass? First one I touched on, it predominantly lives in the subconscious. And let me give you an example. If you look at your actual physical life, your reality, the reality of where you live, the reality of your relationships, the reality of how much money you have or don't have, the job you have or you don't have, whatever, your actual physical reality, right? Now, if you all had a piece of paper and you wrote down what you want to do or what you want to achieve and accomplish, right? It's typically aspirational and it's up there, yeah? Your reality, our reality, is a reflection of our internal subconscious limitations and challenges, right? So if there's some things, and what I mean, let me give you an example. Let's say, let's just say, for example, you're very well developed in relationships, right? And you're extremely, really, your actual self is really, really good in terms of communication and relationships and building relationships. Then your reality in your life is going to be very good relationships. Now you might say, now what people normally, that's because of the people around me. But that's actually not true. That's not actually principle, right? The reality of your internal subconscious is manifested in your reality. So if you're very good at relationships and you're mature and you're extremely good at it, even if you come across difficult people and you're skilled at that, you can, in most cases, not all cases, you could turn those people around. And they may not get on with most people, but then they think you're fabulous. You understand me? Same thing with money, right? Same thing with money. Well, how much money do you make? You know, do you make 20,000 a year? Do you make 30,000? Do you make 50,000? Do you make 100,000? There's people out there that make millions every single year. That's reflection. Now, I know that a lot of people are convinced, even religious people are convinced that that's a manifestation of our, that is reality, as if it's hard. No, actually, it's not. Right? It's the power of the subconscious mind and where you're at and what you think you are worth and what you want to perceive and what your value is. Everything in your life and whatever your situation is a reflection of where you're at in the subconscious. Now, it's even for religious people. I know that's really hard, and I can tell you from my own experience. And you if you get into reading certain books and certain things, and I was a young man, I was kind of skeptical, but I looked and I changed my internal mindset, and I can tell you things suddenly switch around. And I've seen external manifestations completely change. Everything changes. That's 101 principle, right? Internal nature, external form. We all learned it in fundraising, right? We all know you go to these horrible areas, and it used to be these amazing crusher fundraisers, and they used to do well. And the same people that did terrible, did terrible. Anyway, so one thing. The other thing is the original. How do you know what is the characteristics of the internal compass? You have purpose and direction, right? Do you feel right now in your life that you have purpose, that you have direction, that you have clarity? Or do you feel like you're just stuck, going nowhere, doing nothing, and confused? Right? If you are in tune with your internal, your original mind, there's a certain, now you may not have 100%, it's hard to have 100% focus and clarity. Have you ever done something that you really felt clear about? Right? And you have this idea in your head that you should do something. Like first you're kind of confused and you're really struggling. You may pray about it, you may reflect about it, you may whatever. And then suddenly the light comes out and you say, this is what I need to do. And then suddenly you're energized, you're focused, you've got purpose and direction. And then all the resources come together for it. Do you ever find that? Then suddenly I need to do this. And initially you're thinking you don't have this and you don't have that and it's not falling together. When you click in your mind with purpose and direction, and you need to do something, what you will experience is suddenly the universe aligns to that. If it's your original mind, original compass, and then suddenly opportunities or people or money comes or whatever it is that you need, right? And it suddenly is there, and then suddenly it's effortless. Does anybody ever have that experience?
Yes.
It's amazing. Your actual reality changes. That's because internally a light goes on and you suddenly realize it. And I've noticed myself, how do you, they always say the great question. The great question is, another great question is the compass. How do you know you're going the right direction and the bad direction? There's a brilliant line in the Divine Principle on that. And it's because it is hard to know. Because a lot of times it's such a fine, that the compass is so fine. It can be you almost have to be spot on. And if you're slightly off, it's a big problem. And of course, the other thing is, by the result. Do you ever come up with some inspiration and idea, and you feel like, I got to do that? And then you go about and you do it, and everything just seems to fall apart. Right? Just like you're doing this and you're doing that. Now, you don't give up straight away, because sometimes when you do decide, and it is the right thing to do, sometimes you're challenged, and sometimes you will. So then when it falls apart, you say to yourself, okay, hang on a second. Is this a test? Is this a test or that I need to go through or not? And again, it's not black and white, right? And you just pray and stay meditative about it, and you kind of move forward on it. And then the way I figure it is I can sense it deep inside, like really to my core. I can really feel, like to my core in every cell of my body. So if there's something initially happens that doesn't go in line with it, then it's like I pray and reflect about it. And if I really, really feel it to my core, no, this is the right direction, then I say, okay, this is a test, and I push through on it. But other times, and then if you get it, and then everything just falls into place, and it's so, what used to be a mountain, it's just a beautiful work of art, so effortless. Almost, I always use the analogy like you're surfing, and the wave is there. All you got to do is stand on the board and not fall over. The wave just carries you in, right? So this is really, really important. And that's when you know. That's when you know you're doing something that's aligned with your original purpose and your compass, and you're moving in the direction you're supposed to go into. And people who are, when we're aligned with God, we're aligned with truth, we're aligned with our original mind, we will get up in the morning and we will feel that sense that we have a purpose, we have a meaning, we have a direction. And if you wake up, right, and you feel you don't have a purpose and there's a part of you that's going to be looking for that. Every human being, whatever who you are, it doesn't matter. You could be a complete atheist. It's irrelevant. That's what I find amusing about faith. It's like, you're just fooling yourself. You're actually pre-wired to seek for purpose and direction, whether you like it or not. And if you don't have it, you'll end up going incredibly destructive and ruining your life. And you'll end up going this horribly destructive way. And so this is a big challenge. So the question you must ask yourself is, do I have a sense of purpose? Do I have a sense of direction? You may not be 100% clear about every single thing. And there's different aspects of your life. There's some aspects that are not going well and you don't have any answers for right now, and that's okay. But there's other parts of your life that you're really focused on and you're moving in a direction of. And that's a real sense. That's a really essential element. Another thing about the internal compass is, the universe. The universe basically is expanding. Ever since the Big Bang took place, right? It's energy. And energy travels at the speed of light. That light is continually traveling, right? From the coming into the very Big Bang, which is existence of time and space, light has changed. The universe is constantly expanding, continuously. And we have within us this internal compass that seeks to grow. No matter how much you feel accomplished in any different area, the way you think, if I finally get through on this, if I finally, you probably, if you're younger, you get stressed over your exams. If I finally get my leaving cert done, life would be so fantastic. Well, I got news for you. When you finally get achieved to something, it doesn't matter. Then you got to go again and again and again. I got really bad news. You got to go for the rest of eternity. So you better get, and it doesn't matter. And you think, I'm going to reach 65 years of age. I'm going to retire and I can just sit in front of the fire and do absolutely nothing. No, I'm not that age yet, but my mom is 82. It doesn't matter. Okay, you're not going to be running around buying a yacht and traveling the world. Maybe you take it a little easy to physical reality. Every human being, no matter how young or old, has this compulsion to want to do something, to want to grow, to want to expand. Right? Everybody, at any age. Would everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Something. So even a little thing that you learn about, you feel that sense of inspiration. Young people tend to be a little better because a little more adventurous, But no matter, we all have this compulsion to want to grow. You've got to ask yourself every single day, every single week, you look back, what areas in my life am I growing? Am I improving? Am I doing? All the time. And if you stop growing, by the way, you're dead. That is a natural fact, right? Nature, right? Plants, they're either growing or they're dying. Yes. Now I know physically we have a physical body. I'm not talking about the physical body. I'm talking about the mind. The mind is either growing or it's dying. A lot of men actually, this happened years ago. I don't think this happened as common as now. But a lot of men, they used to work their whole life. And, in secular society, a man would define themselves by their job. And the second they retire, within a year or two, they die. It's very common, right? And the reason is if a man identifies as his purpose is his job, I don't think it's as common these days, but years and years ago, people would have defined themselves, men in particular would have defined themselves. It didn't happen to women because women were doing this and doing that and involved, and it kind of, you know what I mean? But for a man, once he retired, if he identified and he didn't have a purpose and a direction, literally, like physically, just there's no point, you know? And if you get into like healthy life when you get older, people who wake up, who have a social life, who have things to do, you know, or something in the house is to work on, or you have some kind of something to do where you feel like you're growing and even if you, no matter how, you always want to grow. And the big challenge the big challenge we all have actually is basically most of us like to settle, right? So in reality, we want to grow and we want to develop. I would argue a lot of people, especially when we get older, we have to be very careful. We just settle. We stop growing, we stop developing, we stop changing, we get stuck in a rush, right? And then you end up being depressed, feeling no hope. You know, there's always this thing about, back to men again, when they get into 50 or something, you know, and if they lose their job, right? They find they lose confidence. You know, this whole kind of mindset kicks in. That's a classic example of not being connected, not growing, not developing, not maturing every single day. So you need to ask yourself, okay, where am I growing in my life? Am I growing or am I stuck? Am I improving in anything? So very, very important quality. And another quality of knowing when you're aligned with the truth and you're passing is a sense of fulfillment, right? Sense of fulfillment. Now, you know, it's interesting. Fulfillment and pleasure are two different things. In the evening time, what does most of us like to do in the evening? Pray. Sit down, have a cup of tea, you know, slice of cake, unwind, watch Netflix, watch YouTube, play games. Have nice conversations. Yeah. You just want to, whatever. Yeah, exactly. See, basically, there's a thing called pleasure in life. You know, we say the purpose of life is joy. But what does it really mean by joy? Actually, the purpose of life, I think a better word than joy is fulfillment, right? So you have what's known as pleasures in life. Pleasures in life, you know, you go on holidays, you relax, you enjoy the sun, you take a pleasant stroll somewhere, you watch Netflix, play games, get on social media, watch a soap, whatever, right? These are pleasures, right? And they're good that we do these things and we engage in these relax. So if you were doing them, if somebody handed you 100,000 euros a year, you don't have to work or do a thing, right? And you sit around watching Netflix, playing computer games, whatever, just doing things of pleasure every single day. Like, life is a permanent holiday. What do you think? You think you would be happy? No. That's the thing, right? That's the problem with the original mind. Now, we do find pleasure in these things, and it is good to unwind at the end of the day and not be too stressed, and to have a cup of tea and read a really nice book, and watch a TV program or get onto social media, reach out to people, do all these things, right? These are things of pleasure. But that's not going to give us purpose and meaning in life. What we seek for is fulfillment, right? I mean, you have these people, you know, what's his name? Williams, the famous comedian. Robbie Williams, yeah, amazing genius, make movies, get 10 million. Had all the fame, all the glory, right? Tragically committed suicide, right? People get into drugs. There's a big problem in the United States with opium, right? Crime, resentment. Most young men these days, back in our day, for men it was drink, right? These days for young men, it's predominantly gaming, actually. Gaming addiction is probably the most common. You could argue it's better than drugs or I mean, I have said that in America, there's a huge opium kind of crisis of drugs, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, okay? There's either two things we're all doing in our lives. right? We're either doing meaningful, fulfilling things in our lives, or we're wasting our lives away. Now, in reality, probably half of us are stuck in between the middle, where we're kind of doing a little bit of fulfilling things, right? And we're wasting a huge amount of time. It's true. I mean, I look at my own life and I think, what you do extra 9 to 5, some of them are mundane things that need to be done, right? Fulfillment. You ever, for example, guys, do you ever work on a project? You got to do a school project or something, right? And it's not necessarily a pleasure, and you work on it, you study on it, and you put a lot of time and effort into it, right? And you finish the project. And, some parts of it were interesting, other parts were just a complete pain or whatever. You're not overly enthusiastic. But anyway, at the end of the day, you finish the project, right? How do you feel?
Good.
John feels good. I mean, how do you feel? You know that feeling? You get that sense of fulfillment. That's what that feeling of fulfillment feels. It's not pleasure. It's not instant gratification, right? It's like you really need to put in the effort to work on things that are meaningful and fulfilling. And how do you know if you're doing something? And again, that's like if you're following your internal compass, these are the flags that you need to be looking out for. Not red flags, but these are the flags. This sense of fulfillment. When you do something and you complete something or you learn something, maybe you go skiing for the first time, or you learn a new programming language, or you break through on whatever, it doesn't matter. Anything at all, right? And you learn something new, or you read this really good book that gave you a whole new insight. That sense of fulfillment, right, is really, really important. I mean, the fact of the matter is, every problem in the universe is a direct result. And this is a bold statement, but I'm going to make it anyway. Every problem in the universe is basically either you're pursuing fulfillment, right, and you're going in line with your original mind, or you're not. And the not has actually many variants. It has many variants. From gaming addictions to depression to violence, destructiveness. Some people just get super angry and violent. Some people get into social media addictions. Like women are more inclined for social media addictions. I'm on Instagram, and some women, none of them here, thank God, they just post pictures every single day of the week, and they're addicted to the likes, and they put a huge amount of energy into it. And after a while, you kind of like, what's the point, But that social addiction is a big thing. But it doesn't matter. We were on the way in the car, and somebody said, man, when they didn't have internet, life must have been really, really boring. And, the idea, we were just playing outside and doing crafting and being really creative. That's not true, right? Young men ruined their lives and drank too much. Drink and drugs was a bigger problem for young men back then. And I always said to the kids, never underestimate humanity's capacity to make a mess and ruin their own lives. And it's true, right? I mean, we glorify the old days. But if we're really, really honest, yes, there was a few bright sparks who actually made meaning in their life. But there's a lot of idiots who just hung around corners, talking crap, smoking crap, drinking crap, and absolutely coming to nothing in their lives, right? But you have the same thing today, right? People just wasting their life away. Like YouTube is really fascinating. If somebody, before the age of YouTube, if somebody said to you, imagine an hour in there when the internet didn't exist, right? And you had to go to the library and read books, and you had to make a lot of effort to learn things. And somebody said, in the future, you're going to have this library, and you can pretty much learn everything and anything you want. We would think, wow, that's really amazing. In the future, people are going to be so smart. They're just going to be so intelligent. I mean, seriously, it's true. You got the Khan Academy, and there are so many amazing resources on the internet. If you want to learn how to program, if you want to learn different languages, if you want to learn about, engineering, physics, there's right there in front of you. So we must have, right now, the young people of today, man, they must be the smartest and most amazing, creative, intelligent people on the planet. Right? Wrong. No. We spend most of our time looking to and digesting and consuming rubbish. Would anyone disagree with that?
No.
Really? I'm telling you. The bright smarts that lived 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago took the effort to went down to the library and went to this and went to that. It was a lot more effort to get the information, but they still ended up getting where they were. There are people like that today. Not everyone is wasting their time. And I'm guilty of that too. You know, we could all speak 2 or 3 languages. We could all do programming. We could all know about engineering and rockets and science and nature and climate and have amazing information on finance and derivatives and stocks. All the information is there. It's free. No excuse. We don't. Correct? Yeah, this is human nature, fallen nature. This is the problem we have. So I'm not suggesting we spend all our time learning all these different things, but it's really, really important to understand that every single human being has an internal compass. And if you are pursuing your internal compass, right, you're going to feel a sense of fulfillment. You're going to feel a sense of purpose and direction. You're going to feel animated, motivated, confident, right? It's good for your mind. It's good for your body, right? If you meet somebody and talk to someone and they're stuck, and they're really in a place where they're just stuck and they're not going anywhere, they're not aligned with their thing, you can almost feel it, even if you're not a spiritual person. And you could talk to them for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then you feel like, it's like you want to get away. The energy can, you can, and if you talk to someone who has a sense of purpose, if you talk to, if you meet a young person, a really young, bright spark that's just motivated, driven, you yourself can actually get a buzz from that. You feel like you're talking to someone who's got some sense of purpose, sense of direction, sense of meaning, and you almost want to feed off on that. And that's the beauty of it. And you know what I find interesting as I look at the kind of religious community? I think that there are lots of people who I'm beginning to think. I'm a great believer in religion as a means of as the importance of religion to give people a purpose and direction in life. But I know people who would not declare themselves religious, who I would look at and think, well, they're living better lives than other people. That's not always the case, but I don't think you can just put people in a category like religious people are amazing and they're going to go to heaven, and non-religious people are all going to hell. I wouldn't agree with that. I think it depends. But the question is, you're going to go to heaven or hell is actually where are you right now? Are you in heaven? Do you feel purpose? Do you feel drive? Do you feel motivation? Do you feel clarity? Do you feel you're moving in the right direction? And I'm not talking perfection here, right? None of us here are perfect. Perfection is not a precondition to go to the kingdom of heaven. It's just being aligned with your original compass, moving forward, having purpose, having meaning. Doesn't mean you have to be totally focused and switched on 24/7. In fact, it's so powerful. Even if you spend two days out of the week focused and switched on, you can accomplish many things. So that is a challenge for every single person. I think we're living in more challenging times because traditional religions is swept out, and there's no purpose and direction, and there's a lot of confusion. But I still think, you still had a lot of problems 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago that traditional religions didn't resolve. So I don't know, providentially, where people's lives are going to go. But I think, but at the same time, I feel incredible hope because we all have an original mind. Every single one of us has an original mind. And we could all make a decision like that in the morning. Absolutely. You can literally just wake up and say, you know what, okay, I want to align to my original compass and I want to live a fulfilling life, right? So where are you right now? Well, you tell me. How do you feel? Do you feel completely stuck, miserable, and feel like you're not going anywhere? That's good. Seriously, because that's telling you, you got to change something. That's actually your friend. Fear is good. You're walking down the road, there's a big truck flying down, you feel terrified. Well, good. That's a red warning light flicking. So no matter what state of mind you're in, it's a great state of mind. If you're really in a bad state and you're struggling and you're really unhappy and you find meaninglessness, fantastic. I hope it's hurting really, really bad because That's going to have you wake up and realize, okay, I've got to do something. I got to change something. How do you know if you're going in the right direction? If you feel a sense of clarity and a sense of focus, and you have energy and purpose, and things seem to be working out for you in your life, that's good. That's an indication that you're doing something right. And then if you want to know what exactly I'm doing right, then just ask yourself, after I engage in that activity, how does that make me feel? Do I feel a sense of fulfillment? Right? Always pay attention to that. Feel that sense of fulfillment. Or if I'm doing something and I just feel like I'm banging my head against a brick wall. Now, externally, you may be doing something useful, but you just feel somehow, you know what I mean? You just feel like you're whatever. That's a sign that shows you're moving in the wrong direction. So personally, I'm a huge optimist. I do think, despite the reality of the world, we live in an amazing time. And every single human being, no matter how messed up other people screw up their lives, that doesn't stop you and I from connecting with our original mind right here, right now, and living amazing lives. Absolutely. And I think it is realistic. You know, 100 years ago, people died of all kinds of diseases. So we live in a physically, externally, technologically more advanced world. The only thing we're missing is the internal compass, right? And if we got our internal self aligned with the external abundance and the external world that we live in, we can live an amazing life. And then when we live amazing lives, then we can influence other people. See, if everybody's struggling and everyone's not going anywhere, then we hang out with these people, then we think that's the norm, right? And then you start hanging out with someone who's actually got purpose and drive and motivation or going somewhere, then it's like, okay, then that's not the norm. And then more and more of us begin to really challenge and move forward and get our act together and grow and develop and be the amazing people that we all are, then you create that kind of inspiration. And you kind of like, you know, even jealousy, even sometimes jealousy is a good thing. You know, who does that person think they are? But sometimes that can compel us. If it compels us to kind of then ask ourselves, maybe I should do something better, that's a good thing. You know, because the only enemy we have is ourselves and our fallen nature. So despite the reality world and despite traditional religion going on the wayside, I'm personally a great optimist. I really am. I'm a great optimist. I don't have great faith in humanity. Well, no, actually I do. I have amazing, I'm 100% confident in humanity's ability to completely screw up their lives. I mean that. I mean that. I really do. I love history. I just think, I know it's a very cynical thing, but, you know, I just really, you know, the biggest mistake God made is giving humanity free will, because free will if I was written in the universe and I had a chat with God, you got to somehow taper that free will thing, because they're just going to make a mess of it. I mean, give them free. It sounds great. Like, give it a YouTube channel. You can watch any channel you want. 9 out of 10 are just going to watch rubbish and make the wrong decision. But I have great faith in the original mind. I have absolutely amazing faith. And the fact is, every single one of us have it. And every human being can wake up in the morning, switch. It can happen that quick. You ever really struggle at something and you're just really, really in a dark space and you're struggling about it, and you have a prayer and suddenly the light goes on. And just like literally in that nanosecond, it's like the lights are on, the heat is warm, and you're in this amazing place and you feel a sense of hope and everything. Does anybody have that experience?
Yes.
Yeah. It happens so many times. We all have that experience. There's so many. That's how amazing it is. And the funny thing is, that potential is right here, right now in the room. In fact, it dwells in every single cell of our body. I think we are so close to, we are closer to that moment than we think. And we can make it a reality in our lives. So let's live amazing lives. And we can't change the world by making other people fulfill their responsibility, but we can change the world by changing ourselves. And from that base, influencing other people and hoping they too see the light. Not you? Dearest Heavenly Father, we're really, I mean, we do, in many ways, we do live in the most remarkable time in history. And we need to remind ourselves of that, because if you look at the reality of the world, it's very easy to look upon the world as the glass half full, and all the misery, the climate change, the wars, the hate, and this confused world of losing direction. But the reality is there is another side to the coin, and that is your truth and your love is alive today as it has ever been, and it is available to every single human being without exception. Just like the sun will come out in the morning and shine on every human being, your truth and your love will shine on every person, and it's all there for us. And I really pray that we can, just really fulfill our own portion of responsibility, reach out, align ourselves with our internal compass, and move forward and just live amazing lives. I pray this now in the name of Alan Kent, Central West Family. Adieu.